The subcommittee would wish to seek time.
I certainly do.
The gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And on this bill, we still have very, very, very strong objections on Valentine's Day. The majority delivered the people of the state of California a box full of empty Valentines and promise with only a 1.5 day notice, a markup, prior notice to this markup. Over the last 8 months, the majority has negotiated over 24 changes to the introduced version of H.R. 1837 without any input on the language from all stakeholders, including the California water agencies and certainly my constituency. H.R. 1837 claims to restore the flow of water to beleaguered communities in the world's most productive and highly valued agricultural region. Let's be clear on the reality. This radical legislation will negatively impact how water is managed in the state of California, amends our state constitution, and will undermine California's ability to manage its own resources. It would repeal or overturn nearly 20 years of environmental protections under the Central Valley Project Improvement Act, called CVPIA, and the Endangered Species Act, ESA. Would repeal the court-ordered San Joaquin Restoration Settlement Act, a compromise that took over almost 20 years to reach and was widely supported by a variety of stakeholders. This original settlement had two primary goals. One, restoration, the restoration goal to restore and maintain fish populations in good condition in the upper San Joaquin River. Secondly, a water management goal to reduce and avoid adverse water supply impacts to all Friant Division long-term contractors that may result from these restoration flows. By passing this bill out of the committee, one step closer to creating drastic legal and water rights uncertainty for all stakeholders and possibly dramatic cuts to the water diversions. This is a good bill for lawyers. As written, it locks up water contracts with no environmental mitigation and in perpetuity. It also preempts and supersedes any state law, any regulation or requirement that imposes more restrictive requirements or regulations for activities authorized under this bill. It overturns 110 years of reclamation law. It undermines the ongoing state and federal efforts under the Bay Delta Conservation Plan. Despite the changes by the majority, H.R. 1837 still seeks to make sweeping and dramatic changes to the CVPIA. It extends water contracts to 40 years and continues in perpetuity without completion of any environmental mitigation or consideration of climate change. Removes tiered water pricing aimed at encouraging water conservation and efficiency, and also diminishes funds for restoration. It completely eliminates the co-equal goal of protecting the environment and allowing for water deliveries. Violations of these laws were the basis for the litigation by the NRC Council in 1988, and it puts the jobs of fishermen highly at risk. It preempts states' rights. The state rights are a historic and fundamental principle. It is the usurping of state rights sets bad precedent and should not be taken lightly. This litigation also severely limits ongoing environmental protection efforts and deems that requirements of the ESA are met at levels established by scientific analysis used in the 1994 Bay Delta Accord. Ecosystems change, that's a fact. Using 20-year-old ecosystem science is akin to treating a patient today based on vital measurements for 20 years ago. Does not make sense. Since introduction, we've received nearly 36 letters in opposition, and I'm submitting for the record a list of over, I would say, about 50, 60 letters in opposition. It includes the state legislature, Senator Pro Tem Steinberg, Speaker Perez, the Senate, Boxer Feinstein, Assembly Chairs of Natural Resources in the state of California, Water, Parks, Wildlife. In a signed letter stated it undermines judicial agreements, erodes longstanding water principles, usurps California's sovereignty, and lays waste to any hope of progress in the Delta. I meant that it also usurps other states' rights. Eventually, fishing industries, there's no word, this is their quote, to describe the complete devastation this bill would bring to the Central Valley salmon runs and those who depend on them for their livelihood, recreation, and food sources. From the Central Delta Water Agency, this bill would transfer responsibility of complying with state river flow and quality protections above the Bay Delta Accord to non-export project water rights holders who, under California law, are senior to the exporters. The San Joaquin Reliability Act has nothing to do with reliability and everything to do with uncertainty. It does not create jobs, and I thank you, Mr. Chairman, I will yield to Mr. Garamendi if he so wishes.